Last week, I talked with you about this liminal space between states of being. The idea that as humans, we are creatures of desire, like all the other animals and everything else I can see. Everything is driven by desire. But we are not just creatures of desire, animals, as it were. We are apes who tell stories. We are creatures who tell stories, and those stories we really believe them, and they become sort of the foundation of our life. So we are creatures of desire and story, but then we also understand that there is a sense of human being human that's bigger than our story. The stories aren't the whole story. There's more to it. And we understand that we call ourselves human beings. There's a level of our existence that's above the story being. So desire, story, and being. And I talked about how we make a shift from desire to story by consciousness. We make the shift from story to being by a shift that I define different ways. We go through a dark night. It's usually a crisis. It's the breakdown of the story. But what I call it, which makes it sound a little more neutral, is the existential shift. And that's what I'd like to talk about today for just a little bit. I've spent, it's not an exaggeration, the last 10 years obsessed with this. The sort of the outlines of this shift came to me pretty quickly, but I didn't want to say much about it until I could describe it more clearly and until I had really tested it, to just to make sure, I wasn't just spouting the latest brainwave to pass across my mind, that this was really something that as a human that I consistently encountered. I'm working right now on a course to try to help people make this shift. But today I just want to try as succinctly as I can to describe what that's all about. So again, it's that shift from a life that is based on story to a life that really flows out of existence, out of human being. One way to describe this is a shift from where we take our stories of a foundation of our life, to where we now, when you're operating from the sphere of being, the story becomes an expression of your life. It's not like as you make these shifts, as you begin to fully embrace yourself in all three realms of human existence, it's not like you move from one to two and you're done with one. Desire never goes away, right? Story just harnesses desire, and desire is absolutely part of every story. And the same thing is true when you shift from the realm of story to human being. The story is still very much a part of your life, but see, and again, the difference is, and this for me has been just huge, the story is no longer the foundation of my life. I'm not trying to prop up my life based on, my latest story. Looks like the sun is poking through the clouds. My face may begin to glow here in a minute. Don't worry, it's not coming from me. It's just the sun up there. Oh gosh. So I just want to, that shift. Okay, let me tell you about the existential shift as concisely as I can. In order for this to happen, we have to loosen our grip on the story because we think our story is the foundation of our life. Then we'll base our life on the story, and we'll defend the story, right? But there are three forces that destroy every story. And you could think of it this way: there are three deceptions of the story. One of them is the true story. The second one is the happy ending, and the third one is the good guy. Now, I've defined the darkness that eats up these claims of the story as specters. And so let's look at them one at a time. The true story. This is the foundation. This is our faith. And your faith may be religious, but it might just be your assumptions about life, what it's going to be like to get married and how meaningful that's going to be, or you may have a family story. You may, I don't know, whatever your story is about your life, that's your faith. And we base our lives on it because it's the true story. The problem is, how can there be any true story, ultimately true story, when we see so little, when we are so ignorant? And so this first specter I call Inyarus, ignorance. And Inyarus devours every human story, explanation, tale we tell about life. And that leaves us in this terrified state of there's no meaning. There can be no meaning to life, nihilism. And so what do? We try to defend the story. We try to reinforce the story. We put energy into apologetics. And that's just a really tough way to live. And I know because I did that for decades, just working so hard to defend the Christian story as the foundational true story, the true story. But here's the thing, when you accept Inyarus, when you face Inyarus, it opens a door. And the door it opens is to wonder. I don't know. I don't know. But wow. I mean, I don't have to just be angry that my story broke. I can look around and say, what's left? The answer? Everything. And look at the wonder of it all. And I can enter back into my story, whatever that may be, not as a foundation, but as an expression of my life. So Inyaros allows the story to shift from foundation to expression. And I call that adventure. I enter into my life as an adventure. It's just, it's a great shift. So that's the true story and the shift that happens around the true story. Moving on to the second specter, the second false claim of the story is the happy ending. If I could just fill in the blank, then everything would be okay. We're always chasing that end of the rainbow, and you don't have to live very long before you realize that ain't true. And you wind up with Solomon saying, vanity of vanity, all is vanity. I mean, everything's chasing after the wind. And hope is a carrot on the stick. And that, by the way, is the word we use to describe this, hope. Hope drives us forward. If I could only, there's something in the future that will make it all okay. But of course, when we get there, it doesn't make it all okay. And so that throws us into despair. So what do? We come up with something else. We replace or repair. So it's hope. And then we face vanitas, despair, repair. Vanitas, despair, repair. There's this cycle of doom around hope. But when you face Inyaros, when you face vanitas, when you face the vanity of life and accept that, you realize, wow, it's okay. That is just how the world is. And I use the word acceptance. For a long time, I wanted to use the word gratitude, but you don't get there that fast, because at first it doesn't feel like, oh boy, my story's broken. I can't get to the happy ending. That feels like, despair. So you start by that's the way it is. But when that happens, something amazing takes place. You no longer feel like I've got to get to there to make things okay. There's a freedom. It's like being let out of a cage. Vanity of vanity, all is vanity. In the life of somebody who has really faced vanitas, that is not a cry of despair. That is a cry of freedom. It's like, oh, yes, it's a game. It's a great game. It's a wonderful game. And so you can enter into life. And the word I like to use for entering back into the story is play. So it's a shift from hope to play. And hope has, when you play, you have an object of the game. You're doing a lot of the same things, but you're just not doing it with this false claim of the story that will be the happy ending. I tell the story of the kids playing on the seashore, and a man comes up and says, "You kids, why are you building those sand castles? Don't you know the tide will come up and gobble them any second now?" And the kids look at the man like, "Of course we know that." We didn't think we were building an eternal castle. The moment won't last forever. Forever is in the moment. And so we touch the purpose and the thing that gives us joy in life is not the carrot on the end of the stick, but the pursuit of happiness. And that is interesting in our founding documents, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's the pursuit, right? And that's the joy of living. Um, Now, what happens after we die? And we have all these questions about, well, how does this thing end? Because, well, we don't know. We don't know. Um, but all I know is that for me right now, as I exist, I embrace that vanity, and this is not apathy. It's the freedom to enter into life and back into my story, not as hope in the happy ending, but as play, joyfully. Yes, going for the goal, but not with this sort of like I've got to do it or it's all over. Their life has no meaning. And then finally, we look at the third false claim of the story, which is the good guy. Ah, this is the hardest one. In fact, I would have been done a long time ago if it weren't for Rapax, this specter that gobbles up our illusion of being the good guy. This is a hard one. This is a really hard one because we all like to think that we're basically good people and we do the right thing, and we're not like, we look at nature and we can see everything is kind of, selfish, right? The lion killing the lamb and eating it, oh, gross. Or the way the mosquito bites on our arm, that's crazy. What are they doing biting me? Or, you might want to say, really though, what's the difference between a mosquito biting into my juicy arm and me biting into a juicy steak? Which I know what drives some to be vegetarians, which might be, really a compassionate, good thing to do. I don't know. But I do know this. I can't escape the fact that I am my own center of gravity and that everything I do is just like everything else in nature. I do it for myself. Everything I do it for me. That's Bryan Adams. Sorry. But that's creepy. I don't want to be selfish. But wait a minute. How can I not be selfish? I'm a self. And everything I do has self at the center. And we don't like that. We don't like that. And so we reject that and we get into these games where okay, you're bad and you're good and I'm good and you're bad. Because if when Rapax tears away this idea of the good guy, we're in this world where we just realize, wow, I am really alone. Nobody has the center of gravity of me except for me. And wow, all these other people have their own agendas and their own ways of seeing things. And they're so stupid and they're so selfish and I'm the good one and I'm not like that. No, see, no, 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 no. We're all like that. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow. This is something I'll go into and explain much more better in the course that I'm developing, because there's so much confusion around this word, love. Love. And love is a word that's used in so many ways that it's almost useless. But I think for the most part, love is a mask of virtue worn by desire. Love is the story we tell ourselves that we are good, that I'm a loving person. Well, yes, everybody's a loving person. Everybody loves something, right? We all have desire. But it's not bad, it's not evil, but it's not virtuous either. I'll resist the temptation to go more on that. But when you realize that, it can be so disillusioning and you just feel alienated from the world around you. But again, you don't have to. Because when Rapax tears away the mask of virtue worn by desire, and you recognize that everything, every creature, from me to my wife to the people at work to the government, everybody is just there. We are in there, angling for our own center of gravity in our own way. That can actually give you a sense of solidarity and connection with the world around you, because you realize, wow, I'm just like everybody. I wrote in my journal yesterday, I fight you not because I'm better than you, but because I'm exactly like you. That may sound a little crazy, but that's really is true. But here's the thing: when you when you see this, it gives you this deep empathy. And as a human being, the most profound joy, the most profound like thing we can bite into with our existence is the joy of empathy, connecting with other things, and finding happiness in their happiness. Sure, it makes me happy to eat a bag of potato chips, but to see a smile on my kids' faces, now that's some serious happiness. The joy of other people that I care about. In other words, to embrace other people who are just like me and say, I make space in my world, in my center of gravity. I care about this, I care about that. I care about everything because everything's just like me. And I wish that we could all just learn how to be ourselves together. Not me devouring you, but me empathizing with you and finding a way to harmonize with you. And that's the word that I like, is harmony. From love, this very ambiguous word that for the most part just means the mask of virtue worn by desire, to harmony, where I recognize all things as being just like me and find any way I can to connect with those things and to bring them into my life. Not because I'm a good person. I'm still just expressing my desire. I don't do it because empathy is good or harmony. I'm sorry. I don't do it because I am good. I do it because empathy is good, because harmony is good. I find these things deeply desirable. And so I am being purely selfish when I say to you, I really welcome you into my space and I care about you because that's the most joyful thing I can do with my life. So for the person who has really faced Rapax, me first is not like a moral failure to say that. It's a self-awareness that opens the door to deeper connection. More to come on that, and I continue to work on this course. I know I promised this early in the year. I don't know if anyone's holding me to that, but I feel a little bit like, gosh, I said I was going to do that. I'm working on it. I hope to have this ready for you guys soon. And I hope this has helped to make some sense, again, about just moving this existential shift that we make from a story-based life to a life that is rooted in these three fundamental yeses to life. In the face of Inyarus, I choose wonder. In the face of vanity, I choose acceptance. In the face of Rapax, I choose empathy. These are existential choices. They're not story-based. This is just my yes to life that frees me to enter back into the story as adventure, as play, and as harmony. All right, that's enough for today.